Are introverts or extroverts more successful when it comes to running a private practice? Does it make a difference what type of personality characteristics you have when you're starting your private practice? My name is Shena and I've been running a private practice for the last decade and I help other dietitians to grow and scale their private practices. So first let's dig into what is the difference between an introvert and an extrovert. A lot of times we get these stereotypical definitions, which are really not accurate at all for these personality types. So introverts are often seen as shy, standoffish, don't like people, whatever. None of these things are true. Extroverts might be seen as being very talkative, being people that take more risks, etc. When in reality, when we're thinking introvert versus extrovert, it really just depends on where that person tends to get their energy. So if you're an extrovert, you might get your energy from more social situations, being in the public eye. Whereas if you're an introvert, you might really need more alone time to really stew your creativity and be your maximum self. Now, here's what I have to say. A lot of us think that we're just born with one or the other. So we either come out of the womb just loving our personal time, or we're the person that is going to talk your head off as an extrovert. I actually think while we may have more ingrained tendencies towards one or the other, I actually believe that introvert and extrovert are actually just skills. And I believe that we absolutely need both of these skills in order to be successful in private practice. So no matter which one you feel you lean more towards, you have some work to do to really strengthen your skills in the other side of it. Now, hear me out. If you're an extrovert, that's awesome. You probably have skills like feeling comfortable in front of an audience, jumping on social media and doing reels, and stepping into a doctor's office with confidence and really connecting with those physicians. And those are all really important skills to have. You're probably a networking genius, you love to make friends, and you carry on conversations easily. You really love that energy from the more social environments. Now, this is an awesome and necessary skill to have, but it is also a skill that can be built. On the flip side, when we think about a private practice, I don't care which way you want to spin it. If you are a solopreneur in private practice, you are going to spend a lot of time alone. And you're going to need to get really comfortable with the person that you are and your thoughts in isolation, because you're just not going to have a huge network around you all of the time like you would in a business setting, a more social setting. This is actually true even if you spend a lot of time around friends, family, going out to events, or even if you have a staff, because the things that you're doing to grow your business are so outside of the norm of what anybody else is doing that you are really going to need to be a person with strong internal reflection capabilities in order to successfully run your business. So if you're struggling with one or the other, either getting out there, putting yourself out there, and showing up in social spaces, or sitting in time alone and being able to build that business from your own internal thought processes and creative juices, we've got some work to do. Now, I would say that I am probably an introvert by nature. As a child, I was very quiet. I like to observe more, and I like to just receive the information that was coming in from all around me versus being put out into the world. And that surprises a lot of people because I am now known for making friends. I get out, I network, I mingle, I love big groups, I love public speaking, and so on and so forth. But this is a trained skill. Now, how do I know it's trained? Well, I was gifted trial by fire by my father. Now, I had quite the unique upbringing. My family is actually musicians, and so every Friday and Saturday night, my dad was playing his rock music with my mother and my brother, who were part of his band. Now, as the child of a rock star, guess what you get to do? You get to be part of the band whether you like it or not. And so my dad required that all of us learn an instrument. And so my quote unquote introverted self used to get thrown onto stages in front of hundreds of people in order to play my guitar whether I was ready or not. So I learned to be ready very quickly, and I learned to be humbled when I was not ready. Again, development of those skills. I'm now very comfortable on stages because I know even if I screw it up, the day goes on. So really, as my dad would say, practice makes practice. I am not outgoing, I am not a mingler, and I am not a networker by nature, but I am good at it because I did it over and over and over again, and I really didn't have a choice. Being raised in a family of rock stars in which pretty much anywhere you go in a small town, you're famous. By the way, famous by nature, my cousin was actually Kurt Cobain, so fun little fact, I've always been in a spotlight, whether I want to or not, which usually I did not want to because, like I said, by nature, I am an introvert. Now, for our extroverts that need to learn introvert skills, this is very, very important. 90% of your business is just your mindset. Just learning to know how to sit with that person that you are and where you get the most fuel for your fire and when this happens. So, for example, I know because I've spent so much introspective time with myself that I am most productive in the mornings with my coffee, with my routine, sitting in certain spaces with lots of light, and where I'm gonna have some pushback, which means I might want to embark on those tasks earlier in the day and just get them done versus sitting and stewing on those all day, which I know really hinders my productivity. And I know that because I spend a lot of time reflecting on myself, reflecting on how I do work, and reassessing that all the time. So I'm looking internally to recognize how I can maximize my productivity with all of my strengths and weaknesses. I'm getting that energy based on what I know about myself, and I'm able to utilize that as a skill. We can build the skills of both introvert and extrovert. And in my opinion, if we're going to be successful business owners, we must do this. And the crazy thing is, the more that we practice one or the other, whether it's introvert skills or extrovert skills, we're going to get better at those skills. So if we force ourselves to spend that alone time, really reflect, really get to know ourselves as a person, and we do that on a regular basis as part of our routine, we're actually going to get better at that. And we are going to require that time in order to feel productive. Same thing goes for those extrovert skills. The more we force ourselves into those situations, the more we're going to feel a little bit drained if we don't have those situations. So again, while we might lean towards one or the other, and it might be more easy to capitalize on those skills, we can and must, as entrepreneurs, train ourselves to do both. I hope that this information was helpful for you. If you found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend.